I was doubting whether we should speak about this topic, but I felt it was necessary to make some things clear in a topic that is can seem quite scary and deep, and a lot of fear associated with that. Because it has been used as a way to promote religion. The concept of hell and going to hell, and if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell.
Yeah, it's a complete contradiction. On the one hand, the philosophy is God loves you.
Yeah.
You're his child, etc. He's your father. And on the other side, he creates a situation where if you don't do what he wants you to do, or you sin or go against his will, then he makes it so you burn eternally.
Yeah.
You suffer eternally.
Yeah.
No forgiveness, no nothing, just damn you, and that's it.
We were doubting, but here we are, just releasing this episode and hoping that you will appreciate this information just like I did. So my name is Ruben, and you have tuned into the Breaking Trail podcast with me and my friend and teacher, Balakia. This is where you can learn to really navigate life's journey through ancient wisdom that we share, discuss, and try to inspire you with. So we're very, very happy to have you along for this topic, and we're just gonna dive right into it. So get prepared, everyone who's listening. We're gonna go to hell today.
Yeah, we're going to take a journey to hell.
Oh wait, I need to...
there's a place in Poland, a little town on the beach near Gdansk, and the name is Hell.
Oh.
That's the name of that place. It's Hell. So you can say, where are you going? I'm going to hell.
That's right outside Trondheim. There's a hell as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, right by the airport, and it's very on the train. There's a train station going by, and in Norwegian this would mean like the expedition of goods in hell, but the sign says God's expedition in hell. If you because that's Guds expedition in hell. That is God's expedition in hell. So, okay, what did
right. Yeah, so here we are, back on a Saturday, live at the Breaking Trail podcast.
We're not exactly live right now.
Oh, we're still dead?
We're gonna go live. We're gonna do live. We usually do lives on Saturday, but I didn't have so much time to prepare. So, but I still wanted to do it on this Saturday. Actually, we could go live just for fun, for an extra.
I don't care. It's up to you, man. I'm just sitting here, whether it's live or not.
All right. Okay.
But tell Christian to put some more wood on the fire. It's looking pretty weak.
Christian, kan du lägga mer eld på elden? Kan du lägga mer ved på elden? Yeah, you better fill it up so it can last for some minutes.
For a minute, yeah.
For a minute. Oh, please, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, are we live now?
We are live. Let's say we're live. We are live recording.
Okay, thanks for joining the Breaking Trail podcast.
Yeah.
Live from Tromsø and Kazakhstan.
Yeah. From all over.
From all over.
And we just I was doubting whether we should speak about this topic, but I felt it was necessary to make some things clear in a topic that is can seem quite scary and deep, and a lot of fear associated with that. Because it has been used as a way to promote religion. the concept of hell and going to hell, and if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell, has been used a lot in a sort of a fear-based way, I guess, in religious contexts to make people do what the authorities want them to do or the church wants them to do.
Yeah, right. Fear is a motivating factor. Somebody wants to control somebody or get them to do what they want them to do, then just create a big fear situation. So it's been used in religion, of course, a lot, and also just in general, different control by governments or groups of people who want to control other people. Instill fear in them, and you can control them. So.
Yeah.
But in religion, it's more, directed toward this hell concept, isn't it?
Heaven and hell, and do good things and you go to heaven in the afterlife, and do bad things and you go to hell. And but the idea is that there's a truth behind it. It's just misinterpreted a lot. So that's what we wanted to clear today and get a proper understanding of that, of hell.
Right. So
that's why
when you think of heaven, you think of a place where it's nice and peaceful and a lot of pleasure and sensual enjoyment and what you like. You can have a wonderful experience in heaven.
Yeah.
And hell is the opposite of that, where it's suffering and torture and pain and just undesirable in every way.
Yeah.
And that's the two opposites. That's the polar opposites of, life.
Yeah.
Heaven, enjoy, wonderful, beautiful. Hell, suffer, pain, misery, hardship. And again, like you say, there is some true basis in this. We're going to talk about that, aren't we?
Yeah. And then,
but here's the concept that you get from the Christian version.
Yeah.
Or let's just say most religious versions of heaven and hell.
Yeah.
It's an eternal situation.
Right.
Heaven is eternal and hell is eternal.
Yeah.
Meaning if you go to hell, it's eternal suffering. It's like forever and ever. There is no end to it.
Exactly.
And of course, they've spiced it up with the idea of fire. Because, one of the things that you would suffer the most from is burning. Nobody would like to burn up.
Yeah.
But the difference is, in a material situation, you're in a house, it burns up and it's over quite quickly. But in hell, it's never over. You're burning and burning and burning and continue to burn. And also it's described as a lake, like a lake of fire. And you're thrown into this lake of fire, and it's full of other people screaming and suffering, and you there's no out, there's no solution. It's just
exactly
it. That's the end of the story.
Exactly.
So
were you how was, because both me and you have been exposed to Christianity in our earlier life. Were you? How were you presented?
Just like I was describing.
Just like this, yeah.
That's the version that you get. I mean, and so a lot of people are good Christians because they don't want to go there,
Yeah.
God-fearing people.
Yeah.
And of course, there's got to be an administrator in hell, so that's the devil.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's red and little horns and a pointy tail and the pitchfork, and he's stirring the soup.
Jeez.
I mean, but he comes out, so he doesn't just stay there all the time. He comes out and tries to grab you and take you there.
Yeah.
He's your constant enemy who's always just waiting to you or encouraging you to do the things that would make it so God wouldn't let you go to heaven, but, you would go to hell.
Yeah.
So it's this power struggle presented.
Yeah.
This power struggle where there's the soul is the object that's being fought for, and the two players are God and the devil.
Yeah.
And so, if a lot of people go to hell, if that lake of fire is full of people, then it means God lost the battle a lot of times.
Yeah. Right. Right.
I want you to come to heaven. No, I want you to come to hell. And
Right.
God loses.
Right.
So the whole concept is just against, the truth. It's not how it is.
Yeah.
That means God is not in control. He is to a point, but then there's another personality that's equally as strong and oftentimes stronger,
Yeah.
defeats God.
Yeah.
If God loves us and wants us to go to heaven, but the devil comes along and defeats God and takes us to hell, then God's not God, because God needs number one in all categories. So
Yeah.
that concept doesn't make sense, really.
Yeah.
And then there's another version that we've heard, that God sends us to hell. You see, that God creates heaven and he creates hell, and he sends the sinners there,
Yeah.
the ones who don't obey him and they won't do what he said. They go against his will. So out of whether it's anger or just punishment or however, he sends them to hell. That's another version. And they kind of mix the two up. It's not like just cut and dried. This is one philosophy, and it's just kind of a mixture of the two.
I think I was more exposed. I wasn't so exposed to the devil concept that much, but the other aspect that God, you came to heaven and he looked at your actions and then he made a decision where he was gonna what he was gonna do with you. But this was the point is why this feels so close to my heart. It might sound strange, but this was really the start of my spiritual quest, or one important stepping stone in my spiritual quest. I'd been following Christianity since I was 15, and following that teaching, I was really liking the community and the teachings about Jesus and a lot of things about it. But then I went to New Zealand 3-4 years later and had a Christian surf camp. That's the one time I've done wave surfing, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it in Piha? Where was it? In Piha?
No, it was close. I think it was close to Masterton. Yeah. It was east of Masterton, and I can't remember what it was called. I used to
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I used to bike there, like 80 kilometers east of Masterton on the North Island, south part of the North Island. Castle Point. Yeah, that's what it was called, Castle Point. And anyway, great surf, like completely amazing. It was so fun. But and in the evenings we had discussions about Christianity and the teachings of Jesus, and I remember this one evening, it had bothered me for a long time, the concept of being God throwing us into hell. And that didn't make sense to me, that we would suffer there forever, and that would be somehow unconditional love. That those two didn't match together, love and being thrown into that condition forever. So that was when I just said, because I didn't get a good reply, I didn't get any satisfactory reply, which I hope that we will be able to give people today, if anyone is in this situation that I was, or any other, similar. But so I eventually went back to Sweden. I buried my cross underneath a rock, and I just said, "That's it. I cannot follow this teaching anymore."
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it's a complete contradiction. On the one hand, the philosophy is God loves you.
Yeah.
you're his child, etc. He's your father. And on the other side, he creates a situation where if you don't do what he wants you to do, or you sin or go against his will, then he makes it so you burn eternally.
Yeah.
You suffer eternally.
Yeah.
And
how is that? How is it free will?
That also didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It just didn't compute.
Yeah.
I'm even a material father gives his son many, many chances.
Yeah.
The son does something against his will. He said, don't do that again, or this will happen.
Yeah.
And the kid does it. Okay, this is the last time. If you do it again, this is going to happen. And he does it again, and he forgives him again.
Yeah.
And he's always waiting for him to do the right thing. He would never condemn just a material father without unconditional love.
Yeah, yeah.
So why would the greatest, original, supreme, loving father create a situation that is so contrary to love?
No.
No forgiveness, no nothing, just damn you, and that's it.
You had your chances and it's over.
Yeah. And you got one lifetime
Exactly.
to get it right or get it wrong.
Exactly.
You don't have a lot of leeway here. Okay, this is it. You've got X number of years, and you don't know how many years that is. And if you're not doing what you should do and live a good life and on, then that's it, suffering eternally.
And isn't that linked to the Christian original idea that was a part of Christianity, of where you accepted the spirit soul's transmigration through different lives, that we actually reincarnate, we are eternal, and we take different forms, we accept different bodies. After this body I will go to a different body. But people, when they learned that, they just thought it didn't matter what they did in this life, because they were gonna come back anyway, and there was no consequence. And then they needed somehow to make a consequence for people, and then this hell thing came up. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's right. Because the early Christian founding fathers were, more in tune with the truth and just as it really is. And then, like you say, it became too easy for people to scapegoat out of that, and just they had to do something to make it so they had to get serious now. Join the church, be a good Christian, follow us, and so therefore they created this one lifetime concept.
Yeah.
Which again, if you have any kind of logical vision of it, it doesn't make sense as well.
Yeah.
Why would God create this? He's the perfect personality to create a perfect situation for his child. No matter how bad the child may be, there would still be an opportunity to come home, to actually have that eternal life of enjoyment.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that. He created this one life. So anyway, the whole thing is. So let's go now to what the reality is.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say. So I do.
Yeah.
I think maybe we can start with. From Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16. This is a chapter that describes the demoniac qualities, and that those are qualities that are leading to hell, in a sense, or non-desirable qualities. Let's see. No, let's start with this one actually before we take that. This will make more sense. This is a Vedic hymn. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities, so he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities, so he may go to hell. The living entity is completely dependent in his distress and happiness. By the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell, as a cloud is driven by the air. And then Bhaktivedanta Swami talks about this in a short purport. He says, desire is a subtle form of conditioning of the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Man proposes and God disposes. The individual is not, therefore, omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desires of the minute, independent, living entities. That's a good starting point. It's starting with our desire. That's what it's based on. That is what's leading us to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, like we're always referring to the Vedic scriptures, and it describes all these activities, which are pious activities. And it's certainly recommended you should follow these teachings, and then you will be rewarded with a pleasant life, so to speak. Good karma, good things will come to you. But if you don't choose that, then you will engage in non-scriptural authorized activities, which will be impious activities, and there will be a result from that. And that will be the suffering, and as we want to say suffering equates to hell, then yeah. So the desire is what do I want? What do I want? Do I want to act independently and have to suffer my independent results, or do I want to be more in cooperation and harmony with the will of the Supreme, and the result will be very favorable.
But maybe you could describe a little bit of the Vedic viewpoint of so what is hell then? We now have understood and seen the Christian view of hell and how it's been used. So what's the truth behind this, and how would you describe hell?
Oh yeah, Srimad. Well, if you want to describe it, it's suffering.
Yeah.
No matter which version you look at, it's suffering.
And that's.
But let's maybe it's a good time to describe the arrangement. Let's say the way the material world is created. And so there's many universes. We've talked about this before, but let's just talk about one universe. We are in one universe. Each universe is basically the same. Some are larger, some are smaller, but the general layout is the same. So in our universe, there are 3 different divisions of planets. And planets, we're on Earth planet. These are the places where the living entities live. And it's described very clearly in the Srimad Bhagavatam that there's life on every planet. See, unlike the modern scientists are basically saying, well, we don't know, but probably many can't support life, and Earth is, the most inhabited planet, whatever. Anyway, don't want to get in that.
No.
But anyway, there's life on every planet. And there's 3 divisions. There's higher heavenly planets, intermediate planets, and lower hellish planets. And so it's kind of self-descriptive. Higher heavenly planets. This is a group of planets where life is heavenly. Celestial pleasures. And it goes into great detail of describing those pleasures. Where material life on those planets is enjoyable beyond anything we can even imagine with our material experience on Earth planet. Okay, and there's divisions of that. There's not all the same on all the heavenly planets. There's higher and lower situations in the different heavenly planets.
Yeah.
And then there's the intermediate planets where life is not so good, not so bad. Kind of come see, come saw. And Earth is in that category. It's not so good, but it's not so bad. And then there's the lower hellish planets where life is quite bad. I mean, the distress, the suffering, the difficulties, the turmoil, the pain, is intense. And again, there's gradations in that category too. So the highest planet is known as Brahmaloka. This is where Brahma lives, Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe. He's, the architect, so to speak. He's the engineer more than the architect. God's the architect. Okay, here's the plan. He's the engineer that puts it together. So anyway, Lord Brahma's planet is the topmost planet in the universe. And obviously life is the best there, all conditions. And then, like I say, there's different levels, Siddhaloka, and all kind of different lokas. And each one is different, the planet of Lord Indra and so on. It's just kind of complicated, but it's just the way it's set out.
And then depending on your desires, you take birth in different planets kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you about that.
Yeah.
And then there's the middle Earth planet. It's kind of like the junction between the two. It's the top planet in the lower 7. If there's 7 lower and 7 higher, Earth planet is the top of the lower 7.
Okay.
And then above Earth planet, it begins to get more and more heavenly conditions. And then as it goes down lower and lower, the suffering conditions increase. To the last planet is Patalaloka. This is the bottom planet where the suffering is the most intense. And as you go up, there's more light, there's more everything. And as you go down, it's more darkness, more, dank and whatever. So as I kind of mentioned, Earth is the junction. So you own Earth, you perform your activities, and you get your results. If they're pious activities, this will, after you leave the body, this will give you access to one of the higher heavenly planets, depending on what those pious activities have been, how much you've accumulated, what your desires are, etc.
Well, that's kind of good
so
karma.
That will,
like charitable activities, good karma. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And all done in connection with direction of Scripture, not just making it up as I go. Oh, I think this is good. I think that is good. No, you are following the guidelines of the Scripture. This is very important because a lot of people can think, well, I'm a good guy. I do good works. I don't try to harm anybody, and I want people to have a nice life, and so on. See, but that's just me creating my criteria for my activities.
What I think is good, and
Yeah. No, we're talking about pious activities are clearly defined as following the guidelines of Scripture.
Mm.
So according to what I do, this will give me entrance into one of these higher heavenly planets. And I will stay there and enjoy the celestial pleasures for as long as my accumulated pious activities last. But they're being exhausted all the time. I'm using up my good points, so to speak.
You're harvesting and you're reaping and
I'm reaping
the
and
good
I'm
fruits.
enjoying. But it's diminishing the good karma that I have that gave me access. So when that's used up, I come back down to the Earth planet. Okay, so that's one journey, up and back to the Earth planet.
Yeah.
Another one is I'm creating more and more impious activities. It could be some kind of good charity work situation like you kind of mentioned, to, very evil and sinful. I mean, obviously just sinful activities, and so that will be accumulated when I leave my body. That will give me entrance into one of the lower hellish planets where I will have to suffer accordingly. And there is one of it's called Mahajanas. And the Mahajanas, there's 12 Mahajanas in the universe. And they are like the 12 authorities of the Vedas. And one of those is a great devotee of the Lord known as Lord Yamaraj. Raj means king, Yama means, the regulations, the rules, and so on. He's the Lord of conduct, so to speak. So when we leave our bodies, we have our karma, whatever we've done.
Yeah.
Good, bad, whatever. And if, we have these sinful activities, we're taken to the court of Yamaraj, and then he gives us the next punishment or whatever. So, okay, this is what you have created for yourself. This is where you will be placed for X amount of time until you work off that karma.
Yeah.
And then you've worked it off. Now you come back to the Earth planet again. If that's what your karma dictates, it might be a few stages going from a few of these planets. It's very individual. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, you work off your bad karma, your sinful activities, and then you come back to Earth planet again. And so now you've got a chance to create good karma, go up,
right.
Bad karma, go back down.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the prison system in the society. Not all crimes produce the same punishment. If it's a petty theft, that's one crime. If it's murder, that's another crime, and therefore your punishment will be according.
And one can see it as a consequence. One can see it just as a natural consequence of my action. If I create suffering for someone, there has to be a result from that, and me receiving. This is a talk about. We spoke about this in detail when we spoke about karma, but that's just a natural.
And you can't blame the judge, and like in a civil court, the judge is just saying, "Okay, you did this."
Yeah.
Then the law says you will get 5 to 10 years in jail or lifetime in jail or whatever it is. And if there's a capital punishment story, of course, then that may be the result in a civil court. Mm-hmm. But of course, in these courts of Yamaraj and the punishments, there's no capital punishment because this is on the eternal soul level, and you can't kill the soul. But this makes sense. You see, this is all in keeping with love. Sometimes the father who loves his child dearly has to punish the child to teach them a lesson. He doesn't want to. I remember, parents used to tell the kids, I'm spanking you because of what you did, but it hurts me more than it does you. And of course I never could understand.
Yeah.
I'm getting the pain
and you're saying poor you.
I don't think it's hurting you, it's hurting my butt, And
we're not promoting that. But I the point is still
we're not promoting that, but the example is there.
Yeah.
That God doesn't want to punish us. We create this. He tells us very clearly, like in the scriptures, don't do these things. It's not good for you. And you live like this, and you'll have a very favorable material life. And then, of course, the Vedas take it beyond just going to heaven, because that's what the karma yoga situation is all about.
Great.
Do a lot of good things to get good fruitive results.
Yeah.
According to the scriptures always, of course, and enjoy heavenly pleasures for an extended period of time. So that's their goal of following their religious practices, and this is called, their dharma. This is their rituals, and the goal is the fruits. I will enjoy.
But that's kind of the same concept as the Christian heaven, isn't it? That sounds very similar.
Well, yeah, because Christianity came from who?
Yeah.
Came from Jesus, a great devotee of Krishna. So therefore, the source of all this is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But Jesus said, don't store up, your goods, your good works, In the material world, go to the spiritual world. Your real reward is in heaven. But he was talking about the spiritual world, not just the higher heavenly planets.
Yeah. But that's my point. When you spoke about heaven and hell in the start, that it's all self-centered. It's either I suffer, that's not good for me, or I enjoy in the heavenly planets. I enjoy all the pleasures, that's the highest pleasure we know, I guess, because we can see the material pleasures of, sex life or food, and then we think about heaven as being a place where we just go and full on that and eternally.
And that's how it is. That's how it is.
I see, yeah.
In the heavenly planets.
In the heavenly planets.
All the sensual pleasures for all of the senses, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the genital, are far beyond anything you can imagine. The food, the sex life, the beauty of the residents, the women are beyond compare. The men are handsome, and there's no COVID there. People aren't getting sick and having to get vaccinated, and all those things.
So somebody listens to
and
the
life
podcast.
is and life is so long. It's not like here 100 years max is basically and there's no cancers and all those things. You're full enjoying mode, full, all facility, on go, green light on all categories. And you can really enjoy there. But it's material enjoyment. It doesn't satisfy the soul's need for spiritual love.
Just going to say, I think someone listening to the podcast would now go like, wow, that sounds perfect. Let me go there.
But we got to add, it's temporary. You come back down to Earth planet, and can you imagine coming back down here after being there?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
It'd be like being in Hawaii for, 2 years and then going back to, homeless life on the streets of Seattle or something.
Yeah.
It's like, So anyway, that's how really there's heaven and hell, in the material sense. Mm-hmm. Or let's not say in the material sense, in the material world. But the message of the Vedas is always, this is not good enough. Even the heavenly pleasures are temporary. They don't satisfy the soul's need for real spiritual love and total satisfaction. See? So therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, from the highest planet in the universe to the lowest planet in the universe, all are places of misery, of repeated birth and death. See? He's saying only the fools worship the demigods. This is another whole, part of the religion of the fruitive worker, to worship the demigods. This is another whole level of understanding. There's a demigod on each planet, and they're in charge of their planet. So if you want to go to the moon, there's a demigod of the moon, Chandra. Then you worship Chandra, and in the Vedas it tells how he should be worshipped, and on it goes. You become a devotee of Chandra, let's say, and carefully follow how he should be worshipped. Then when you leave your body, you take birth on the moon. You can't go to the moon by a mechanical spacecraft because you're an earthling. If you go to the moon, let's just say that, you go to the moon by a mechanical means. You're still an earthling. You need the earth atmosphere. You need the earth food. So you got to take that with you.
Yeah.
You've got to have your little space capsule and breathe earth air and eat, what the earth body requires for its nutrition. And you've got earth vision. You can't even see what's there. You're very limited in your perception.
Yeah.
That's why they go to the moon. They'll say, well, I don't see anybody.
Right.
Because
you don't have the eyes to.
Yeah. The moon is invisible to the earth eyes. So, but if you take birth there, you've got a moon body with moon senses and moon awareness and moon relationships and you're a resident of the moon and you're enjoying, because the moon is one of the heavenly planets. See? And people live so nice on the moon, see, or any of the different planets. It doesn't matter which one. You know, you talk about it's the same concept. So all that information is in the Vedas, and the fruitive worker will follow that, and therefore he can take residence in one of these higher heavenly planets, Siddhaloka, or whatever loka it is, Kanara loka, Chana loka, you know, the Apsaras, the Gandharvas, the heavenly musicians, and the dancing ladies. They have their planet, and it's like unbelievable.
But because
materially speaking.
But because the Vedas supply information for everyone to follow their desires and do the best, to the extent that they are ready for the real thing.
Yeah.
So,
but it's always told by the great teachers, whether it's Jesus or, you know, Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, or all the great, you know, saints in our spiritual line, you know, the great Vaishnava acharyas. That's not good enough.
yeah.
You know, become a devotee of the Lord and go to the spiritual world, which is truly eternal, filled with pleasures, which make all the heavenly pleasures look like junk. Like they don't even count. So there's so many different levels of perfection. Material perfection is not the goal at all. You see? So that's how you should understand God's eternal love. You get what you want, as you just read. If man proposes, God disposes.
Yeah.
You probably got some more quotes.
I do. Because now from this point, we have we have a choice, and if we choose to cultivate certain qualities and certain if we do certain actions, then they will naturally bring us into a non-desirable condition. This says. Again, chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita describes the demoniac qualities, and it says that we can read text 4 first. Arrogance, pride, anger, conceit, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demonic nature, O son of Pritha. And then Bhaktivedanta Swami is writing in his purport. In this verse, the royal road to hell is described. The demoniac want to make a show of religion and advancement in spiritual science, although they do not want to follow the principles. They are always arrogant or proud in possessing some type of education or so much wealth. They desire to be worshipped by others and demand respectability, although they do not command respect. Over trifles they become very angry and speak harshly, not gently. They do not know what should be done and what should not be done. They do everything whimsically according to their own desire, and they do not recognize any authority. And we can...
Yeah. See, everything according to their own whimsical desires. No authority. So that leads to hell, the royal road
to hell is described.
And they may be dressed in royal paraphernalia, you know, and have all the royal, you know, goodies, you know, but it's the royal road to hell. And the next life is huge suffering. People have no idea what they're creating for themselves, you know, by these demoniac activities, which are forbidden in the Vedas. They're creating so much suffering for themselves. And yet they just go after it like this is the best thing, you know. And they're promoting lifestyles that make it so people will suffer so much, you know. And they think, oh, it's just a fantasy. There's no hell. There's no afterlife. Whatever.
And we're not saying this to scare people. We're saying this to give people the opportunity to make a decision. Because if you have the information and the correct you have the correct understanding, you can make a choice where to go. And this is how it is.
Right. Yeah. You know, like there's so many warnings from the governments, the medical authorities, and so on about certain activities we can do in this life that will create a lot of difficulty for us. Smoking. And they give you a full detail of how you're going to increase your chances of lung cancer by huge amounts and all kind of different heart problems, whatever. Or alcohol, and the addictions and, and okay, wear your seatbelt because, if you get in an accident, this is a great protection. And, all kinds of different things to give you a choice.
Yeah.
Don't eat this kind of food. It's bad for your heart. It's bad for your liver. It's bad for this. Don't do this. It's bad for the environment. The environment is, you're dependent on it. If, the environment goes down, you go down with it. I mean, there's all kind of warnings. So why is it that people are so adverse to, these warnings that go far beyond just, what's going to happen now in this life, this temporary few years, But a lot of people, more and more seemingly into smoking, have heard this message about the results of smoking, and they decide, I'm not going to do that. It's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not worth the risk.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically the concept.
So I could do it, but there's a risk. And
Yeah. Is the pleasure worth the pain?
Yeah.
Do I really think it's worth getting cancer just to have that whatever pleasure from smoke?
Yeah.
So they make an intelligent decision because that's an intelligent decision.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They've heard both sides.
Yeah.
Maybe they've quit. They've already got the addiction. They quit smoking. So many people have quit smoking because they wanted to quit because it didn't taste good or whatever it does. I never smoked, so I don't know. Or is it because their intelligence makes it so I'm going to quit smoking because that's not the best thing for me to do. And I got a wife and I got kids, and what if I die of lung cancer? And, nobody talked about how pleasant it is to have lung cancer. So so the students of the Vedas, if they take these Vedas seriously, can make an intelligent choice. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to follow a path, a trajectory of life that will give me certainly a better result,
Yeah.
And they start learning I'm spirit soul. So whatever is good for my body doesn't necessarily mean it's good for me, the spirit soul. And so that's what we're saying. Apply the same concept of, the smoking example or whatever example to your spiritual life.
And just as in smoking, this is text 16, and you might have a difficulty of quitting because you're too attached to it, somehow enjoying it. And same chapter, text 16 says, thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, you lose your happiness and all the worries and problems, one becomes too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and falls down into hell. So the whole concept of what we started with, looking at, I'm going to go to heaven, it's for me, I'm going to enjoy there, or I'm going to suffer in hell. That's self-centeredness in itself. Like it's a way to hell. If you're too strongly attached to sense enjoyment, you enjoying your senses, you fall down into hell.
Exactly. So you need a process, you need a solution to take you away from being so self-centered, so self-serving, so arrogant, so I, me, mine oriented, and move to a concept of somebody else. And it starts, we talked about this before, about maybe doing welfare work, charity work, if that's where you have to begin. So it's not so much about me, but about others.
Yeah.
And then just go beyond that till ultimately the Vedas say, serve God. Let God be the center of your life. It starts usually with family and friends, instead of just me and all about myself. I'm thinking about my wife and my children. And then you kind of expand it to some friends and more to, larger groups of people, and then maybe humanity in general. And then maybe you extend it to the animals and other things. And then gradually you can become more open to move into the highest level where God is the center. He's the root of the tree, and you want to water the root. Understanding then all the leaves and branches, all the children of God and God's creation and so on will be benefited.
Yeah.
And so you've expanded your consciousness.
Yeah.
And your understanding, your intelligence has been, broadened.
They say that,
and purified.
Yeah, they say that a lot, expand your consciousness. I hear that a lot in the New Age, environment. But that's true understanding of expanding your consciousness, what you just described.
Yeah. So it's a very simple process to understand if you just are open to any of these ideas. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
Not something cosmic that you can't understand. It's just life seen in a different way.
Yeah.
With vision and intelligence and knowledge. And then you can still make your decisions.
Yeah. And being aware of, because this is another point that I wanted to perhaps discuss just a little bit. There are this is the text 21 in the same chapter. There are 3 gates leading to this hell, and I think it refers to this in Christianity as well, or it does. Lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul.
Yeah. And we talked about lust being described in Bhagavad Gita as a all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. And from lust comes anger. From anger and lust comes greed.
Yeah.
And they destroy you. They destroy you. Krishna says it right there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the Lord speaking. He's just laying it out as it is.
Yeah.
He's not forcing anybody to do anything.
Yeah.
He's just laying it out. So if you look at where the most lust is, you'll find the most anger and the most greed. Bhaktivedanta described it as a royal road to hell.
But to understand that concept of lust, maybe you could describe a little bit what that is and what do you do to get in that condition, and there's also, getting back to what we described before, a link here to the proper perspective of seeing the devil. There's a truth behind that as well in connection to lust, and maybe you could.
Well, lust is I want something from me. I want it to enjoy it. I want to consume it. I want to control it. I want to own it. It is mine. Whether it's another person, whether it's money or all the things money can buy, or position or fame and prestige. It's I am the Lord. And everything and everyone is for my enjoyment. This is lust. And there's many different levels of that. And the ultimate idea is it will satisfy me.
Yeah.
If I'm the number one person in the world, it will satisfy me.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it doesn't. So what happens? You get angry. You're angry now because you're not happy. You put all your efforts into being happy in this way, controlling people. Now you got it. You're not happy, so you're angry. And angry just pollutes everything more so. And all of this is greedy because you're the sinner, so you're greedy, you want to get everything and give as little as possible or nothing, And it's all just so dark and just eats you from the inside. It covers your heart with a layer of steel that cannot be penetrated. Love has no place in such a heart. You know, it's a heart full of lust, you know. And so love is now the all powerful force has been transformed into lust. You know?
Because that's an interesting point. Is that the root is lust. The root is love. The love is just turned upside down into lust.
Yeah, it's transformed into
Yeah.
the greatest friend, the greatest gift is transformed into the greatest enemy. So it's poison. Lust is poison, you know, from all angles and on all levels. And so as long as we have a philosophy of satisfying my senses will make me happy, the world is my domain to enjoy, and I'm going to be happy in this way and that way, and I get attached to it because it's all addictive. It's all, you know, very, very, you know, controls us. We talked about that the other day, like drugs or whatever, as an example. Then, you know, we can't give it up, you know. No matter how good your philosophy may be, yeah, I know it's bad, but I can't not do it. You know, that's what Arjuna asked Krishna. What is it that makes me do things that I know are wrong? I know it. I don't want to do it. It's against my will, but I have to do it anyway. I wind up doing it. Why? Lust, O Arjuna, which is born of contact with the mode of passion and is later transformed into wrath and is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. Lust is the enemy. So the more we fall under the grip of lust, the harder it is to get out. You know. So, you know, at a normal, not the day's normal, but normal society, the whole society is geared toward staying away from that, keeping lust at bay, you know, making it so from the beginning of life, love is the foundation, and the relationships and the so on are based on love and coming from the Supreme Person and, you know, doing the will of the Lord, not because of fear, but because this is the best for everybody concerned. And everybody gets such rewards from this on a completely different level than sensual rewards, that there's no addiction created. You know, like my father said, we've talked about this before, if you never start, you never have to quit. You know, he was talking about alcohol and you know, addictive substances and so on. He said, if you never start, you never have to quit. So in a society that was founded on truth and understanding, you wouldn't even start these things. You wouldn't even get sucked into this. So you wouldn't have to struggle to get out, you know. And that's the Vedic system.
Yeah.
But we're not in that society. We're in the other society.
Yeah,
So now we need something so powerful and so strong that it can lift us out of this ocean of material misery. And that's Bhakti Yoga. It is stronger because it is no different than the Lord himself. And so nothing can be more powerful than the Lord. He's all powerful. That's one of his transcendental qualities.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if we can somehow connect with this all-powerful source of strength and protection and shelter and upliftment, then we can overcome all of these adversities.
Yeah.
Lust has no strength in the presence of the Lord. So therefore, the holy names, like we always say, chant the holy names. You know,
And
gain this knowledge, apply this knowledge, use your intelligence to see this is superior information, you see, and apply it to your life. And associate with people. We talked about that last week. And
so there is also there's obviously then planets, hellish planets. There is a possibility of going downward and experiencing that there. But there's another side to it, that is when you can already be in a hellish experience. You can already be in hell right here and now in your consciousness. So it's not just a foreign place that we'll go to at the end of this life where, we're thinking that then I'm going to be punished, or, I'm going to reap the consequences of my karma.
But it's not even in our consciousness. Externally, people are suffering all over the planet right now.
Yeah.
Have been. I mean, hell is in your house. Hell is in your medical condition. Hell is in your, country you live in where there's war, or hell is in your depression, or hell is in your, addictions, or many people are in hell, every day, and they feel like that. This is hell.
Yeah.
Old age is hell.
Yeah.
That's one of the realities of old age. It's hellish. It's not fun. And
being and after you
so
died.
if you want the broadest, the absolute broadest definition of hell is when you're separated from God. You're separated from that loving relationship. You're missing out on the most nourishing, fulfilling source of happiness and pleasure and happiness or bliss of life. And if you're separated from that, that's hell. So even in the even in the heavenly planets, it's hellish for those who are missing that loving relationship.
Yeah.
So that's why it's described from the highest planet to the lowest. All are places of misery, hell. See, Krishna describes that.
Wow.
So you can be in the most hellish situation, materially speaking, but be in heaven with that loving relationship with the Lord.
That's the real.
So heaven on earth is a reality.
Yeah.
Heaven on earth, that's what you've made for me. Da-da-da. Because I love you, you've turned my life into a world of joy and love and fulfillment,
Yeah.
So hell is where God is not, and heaven is where God is.
And wherever you are, if you are connected in that way, you are not in hell, so to speak.
Yeah. So those are the ideas. Like time is up. With,
yeah, I guess we're time to end. But anyway, so if you, the point was,
we can touch on some of these things maybe in future.
Yeah. But if you are connected in that loving relationship, wherever you are, however the circumstance, you will be fine. You will, and the easiest way, the best way, the most simple way to do that is, like you said, in connection with that source of strength, the source of love, the source of real pleasure, which is in the mantras.
Yeah.
Transcendental sound.
Okay, so the hour flies very quickly.
Yes, it does.
Let us do our Gauranga Haribo. Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Hare Bol, Hare Bol. Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga Hare Bol. Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga Hare Bol. Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga Hare Bol. Hare Bol, Goranga. Hare Bol, Goranga. Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga. Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga. Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga Hare Bol, Goranga. Goranga, Goranga Hare Bol. Goranga, Goranga. Goranga, Goranga. Goranga, 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 Goranga.
Hare Bol,
Goranga.
Goranga.
So there you go, another little podcast.
Yeah. Hope. Well, anyone listening now, thanks for staying up till this point. Thanks for the sincerity to listen and appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next podcast.
We will. Moving forward.
All right. If you got any questions and so on, you can send them in and, we'll entertain them, either answer you or address it on another podcast.
Yeah. We didn't, there are always threads like we didn't discuss so much about the devil in the end, but maybe if someone's interested in learning more about that, we can, I don't know.
We can have another podcast on the devil.
We're just full of interesting episodes there. Hell, devil, one more.
Reality is reality, man. The material world is not always roses.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, I got to run. We'll see everybody next week or next time.
Yes. Thank you, Malachi. Thank you.
Namaste, Haribol. Thank you, Ruben.
Namaste.
Haribol.
So that's the end for today, but we're hoping that we'll see you soon again. And it's very nice if you'd like to click subscribe wherever you're listening. And if you'd like to receive email updates, you can go to our website, breakingtrail.life, to do that. And if you'd like to somehow contribute to the project to help us spread this to more people, then, well, first of all, do share it with your friends and tell them about us. And you can also make small mini monthly donations via Patreon. So that is what we have for you today. Please send us any questions, concerns, thoughts that you have, and we'd be delighted and very happy to receive those and answer those for you in the upcoming episodes. So remember now to stay true to yourself and dare to break trail.